It is with such honor that I introduce and welcome my friend and colleague, Kaya Lyons from Australia, who lives in Sydney, who I've asked to share with us her experience of what is happening in her area of the world that is currently suffering. So Kaya, can you tell us a wee bit about what's happening in New South Wales, in Queensland, and the kind of trauma that is unfolding in front of you there?
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, it's a very difficult time at the moment. There has been massive floods. So we've had a lot of rain here all across the country, but the floods are so significant that they have spanned all the way from the Gold Coast, which is a huge amount of land. So it's from the Gold Coast all the way through to Western Sydney. And along the way, the homes here are built with wood, and they have been completely flooded to their rooftops, where families have been and elderly have been standing on their roofs waiting to be rescued with no services. So we have had community members with their local boats that they had actually going and rescuing families, animals from their roofs. And the areas that have been impacted are areas of individuals who come from a very low socioeconomic background. So they do not have the financial ability to be paying for things like insurance. So for many of them, these homes, and I'm talking 90% of the houses that have been impacted, will not be able to be rebuilt. So they are completely going to be knocked down with no potential to rebuild them without community support.
Wow. I think just back even within this time of the pandemic, how we were talking about fire not very long ago. And here we are in a situation of devastation of yet a different form. And
right.
Because I know you, I know that you are passionate about this part of your country. Can you tell us a wee bit why this is so personal for you?
Yeah, so I think that I was fortunate enough to travel around Australia when I was young, and camp around Australia and be on country a lot. And the area that has been impacted, that is like my homeland. So the island that I grew up on, that has split and the roads have collapsed so that you can't get to different areas. My brother has been rolling up his sleeves to actually help because he's living on the land that has been impacted. And I think for those who understand the appreciation of country, it's like a piece of your heart is being pulled apart when you see such devastation for the individuals that are there, but also devastation for the land and all the living animals and creatures that are a part of this land. So it's touching me deeply to know what's going on and to see and to hear the stories and not being there personally to help.
So those of us who are listening and we want to help, how can we help?
Yeah. So that was a question I think I asked myself, being in Sydney and not being in that area. And it just so happens that we run Camp Reset along the east coast of Australia. So we run it in all of the areas that have been impacted. And we're running a camp in April. And so we decided to make this camp about supporting the individuals who have been standing on their roofs, who have lost everything. And I think that this is an opportunity for these kids to experience some joy, to have therapists around them who are trauma-informed, to be able to support their healing and processing of what's just occurred for them. And I think for the families, often when you're in that crisis mode, there's that level of feeling some guilt around not being able to provide certain things for their children whilst they're in this crisis mode of needing to rebuild and think about where they're going to sleep and what they're going to put on the dinner table that night. So for me, it's also that opportunity to provide some space for families to be able to sort out all of those things and know that their children are safe and are in a space where they can heal and experience some joy.
Wow.
But what this means, Kim, is the funding aspects. These are children who do not have funds and do not have finances to pay for insurance, let alone a camp. So we are looking to raise some money through GoFundMe page to send these children to this experience so that they have shelter and food and therapists and resources to be able to engage in some therapeutic healing. I think in these times, it's like even that aspect of giving financially is sometimes tricky. So I just sort of encourage individuals that if you have capacity and you have a calling, that you give what you can. And I think for me, this sense of giving is helping those that have been impacted to feel like they're not alone, to feel like the world is actually thinking of them and with them in spirit, and trying to do what they can to show a level of support, a level of comfort and understanding.
Thank you, Kaya. And
Thank you.
hopefully that the communities find as much ease as they possibly can.